Hey guys, today I didn't write a script for this vlog because I had a headache today. I'm getting these weird visual or ocular migraines or something. I don't know, it just started happening this year. It's kind of annoying, but anyway, I didn't have time to write a script for today's vlog, and I didn't have a back vlog made, so yeah, I'm still trying to catch up on that and get ahead on videos. Now I really want to do that. But anyway, I'm just going to talk about what I've been up to lately. And what I've been up to recently is a lot of cubing. I was just at OCSEF Open 2017, and this weekend I'm going to PBQ UCLA, which is a Please Be Quiet competition, meaning it's all the quiet events, blindfolded, 4 blind, 5 blind, multi-blind, and fewest moves, which is also a quiet event, but it incidentally is not blindfolded, so it's not just a blind competition, it's a quiet competition. And I noticed something about my FMC career up to this point, sorta. This might be something I talk about in a video more in depth on Colorful Pockets, but I'm gonna talk about it here. Now, if you don't know too much about FMC, basically you just try to get the fewest moves possible to solve a scramble, and you're allowed to use they give you the scramble written out, and you're allowed to invert that, and that gives you a different scramble that's related to the original, and there's ways to use those in conjunction with one another. You're not, of course, allowed to just submit the inverse scramble as the solution. That's not allowed, but you are allowed to do things on the inverse scramble and then apply them to the regular scramble. So basically, my first ever FMC attempt was a 32 in competition, which, looking back on it, could have been a 29 if I knew how to do a U-perm correctly, because the end of my solve, it looked like this. So I had to do this U-perm, and the move just before that was like an F prime or something, so I could have just done an F2 and canceled one move there, and then done this U-perm, which is the optimal U-perm. It's only 9 moves, but instead of doing that, I did this U-perm, which is 11 moves, and it doesn't cancel the first move. So instead of getting a 32, I would have got a 29, but hey, I was no good at FMC, and I've done way better than that now, so no big deal. And when I did that solve, all I knew how to use was the inverse scramble. I didn't even know how to do what's called NIS, which is where you switch back and forth between the inverse and the regular scramble, but I knew how to use the inverse scramble on its own, so that's what I ended up doing. So that was how I started, knowing nothing about FMC. Then I learned how to properly use NIS, and that was about it. I learned how to do insertions also, actually. So then I was able to get down to averaging about 35 moves per solve. I got my first sub 35 mean at Mental Breakdown 2016 back in June. Last June, not the June that's coming up, because that would be in the future. And at that competition, I met Kit Clement and Walker Welch. Now, these two sort of helped me move into the next phase of my FMC career, which is using EO at the start of solves and learning how to use NIS even better, because I learned exactly what happens to a cube when you switch to the inverse scramble. I learned how to track pieces and predict things, so I could look at just the regular scramble and predict an EO that was half on the regular scramble and half on the inverse scramble, and I didn't even have to look at the inverse scramble to do that, so that was a really cool thing. I also started using edge orientation at the start of every single solve, and while that's not ideal, it's a really good sort of crutch for me as a ZZ solver that I could use to get good solutions, and it makes block building a lot easier. So it was basically a good stepping stone to help me, and I was able to get down to a sub 30 average, not super consistently, but I'd say I averaged right around 30. And now, as I've been practicing for PBQ UCLA, I've realized another thing, which is when to use EO first and when to not use it. So I'm kind of using a rule right now of EO has to be 3 moves or less, otherwise I don't do it first, because you can usually do it later in the solve for a relatively low amount of moves, like 4 or something. So there's no real reason to do 4 at the beginning if there's something better, like if I can build a 2x2 or something. So that's where I'm at now. I'm hoping that that is going to move me from right around 30 to solidly below 30 average. I've got, a little less than a week to work on it before PBQ UCLA. I've already done some good solves though with it. I've got one that was a 29 with that. Probably should have been a 28 though, because it was a 22 move solution to a 3-corner skeleton. So, you would expect to cancel 2 with that, but I only canceled 1, but hey, whatever, I'm not mad, it was only practice. That's what I've been up to lately. I had a headache, so I didn't write a script for this video. I hope you enjoyed me talking about FMC. I had fun with it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you tomorrow.